Welcome to Xbox Forensics using Paraben's P2C4. This video will introduce forensic examiners to Xbox 360 and Xbox One forensics using Paraben's P2 Commander. My name is Rob Schroeder and I'll be your presenter today. Feel free to email me at rob@paraben.com if you have any questions. Let's start by talking about Xbox 360 devices. Xbox 360s store data in FATX partitions. This is a modified version of the FAT file system designed for exclusively for the Xbox 360. We have two different options for imaging Xbox 360s. We can create physical images of drives and USB drives, or we can create logical images of data. Xbox 360s that have internal full hard drives can easily be pulled out, and you can image those drives just like you would any other hard drives. Same thing with external USB drives. You can image those just like you would any other USB drive. Logical images are most often used when the Xbox does not have an internal hard drive. They sometimes have internal memory of only 4 gigabytes. If that's the case, you're going to be pretty much forced to create a logical image. Let's walk you through that process. And before we do, though, if you do have a hard drive in an Xbox 360, they're going to be 2.5-inch drives, just like laptop drives, and they're going to be housed in proprietary connectors that connect to the Xbox. So you'll have to pull that apart, pull out the hard drive, and then take your image. For Xbox external USB drive storage, these can be formatted for Xbox file systems, and they can only contain up to 32 gigs of data. So if you're going to create a logical image of data from Xbox 360s, you're going to do that with a USB drive that is 32 gigabytes in size, at least, and we're going to format it using the Xbox. So let me walk you through that process. First, you're going to turn on your Xbox system and plug in the USB drive into the front of your console. You're going to then press the guide button or the green X on your controller. And you're going to navigate to Settings, System Settings, Storage, and this might be Settings, System Settings, Memory, depending on the firmware of the Xbox system. Then you're going to go to USB storage device. Now this is the evidence drive that you just plugged in that you're going to format to copy over the logical data to. Here you're going to select Configure Now, and this is going to format that drive to the FATX file system. And then after you've got that formatted, you're going to copy the user data over. So you're going to navigate to Settings, System Settings, Storage, and select Hard Drive. There you're going to transfer the contents of the hard drive to your newly formatted evidence flash drive. Now these instructions are also on support.xbox.com. They might be a little bit more detailed, so if you have any trouble getting a logical acquisition from Xboxes, you can refer to that URL. And once you have your data acquired onto your flash drive, you can image that drive and load it into P2C, or you can load it in as a physical drive image as evidence in P2C. Next, let's move on to acquiring data from Xbox Ones. Now, the Xbox One gaming system uses a modified NTFS file system. Some people refer to this as NTFS-X, but it isn't quite a traditional NTFS file system. It's pretty close. Xbox Ones do all have internal hard drives that can be imaged physically. So all you're going to do is pull apart your Xbox One, pull out the hard drive, and create a physical image. For external storage devices for Xbox Ones, there are some rules. They are formatted, again, with the Xbox One, similar to the way you format Xbox 360 data, But when users format these drives, they must have USB connections, USB 3.0, and they must be at least 256 gigabytes in size or larger. So there doesn't seem to be a limit on the size, but there definitely is a size limit on how small they can be. Once they are formatted by Xbox One for Xbox One data storage, they lose their ability to connect to a PC. So if you have an Xbox One NTFS partitioned drive, you're not going to be able to load it into or connect it to a PC and use Windows Explorer to navigate to that data. You're going to have to create a physical image and then load that data into P2C for analysis. So let's move on to that portion then. We'll jump over to P2C and show you how each of these gaming systems look and can be analyzed using P2C. Now that we have created our Xbox 360 image of the entire hard drive, we're going to load it into P2 Commander. Now we created that image by imaging the entire hard drive. It was over 100 gigabytes with Forensic Replicator in PFR format. It doesn't matter what format you create your image in, as long as it's supported by P2C, you can load it in. So we're going to go to Add Evidence, Image File. We're going to have it auto-detect. And we're going to select our Xbox 360 PFR image, and automatically P2C pops up the sorting and the keyword indexing options. One of the things we've found with the Xbox 360 images is they contain internally other disk images. If we leave everything checked for recursive sorting, it is going to actually find millions upon millions of unknown files within disk images here that are kind of useless to our examination. So I'm going to go ahead and uncheck the disk images for recursive sorting, but I'm going to leave the other file types just in case we run across other data that we would need to sort through. It will sort through that data recursively. Other sorting options we're going to check are include files of undetected format, calculate hash codes for drives and partitions, and we're going to recover deleted data. What that's going to do is it's going to perform sorting and keyword indexing for deleted recovered data. I'm going to skip these other types of archived data because I generally don't find user data in this type of data. But I am going to keep use image analyzer option checked because I do want to scan for pornographic images. Once I hit finish there, it's going to start the sort and index. Now this is going to take about an hour and a half or so to go through this entire drive, but because of the magic of video, we're going to jump right to the completed sort and indexing. All right, now that we've completed the sort and index of the Xbox data, I also ran a quick search as well, and I'll show you as we get into the analysis of what I searched for and why. So we have sorted files, sorted out some 5,427 files. You can see here that we have everything from documents to some graphics, executable files, compressed files, multimedia, text documents. But here's where the fun stuff is. Gaming console files. So P2 Commander can determine specific Xbox related files, whether they are FATX partitions, Xbox STFS packages. These are similar to compressed files like zip packages and things like that that contain other files within the package here, and I'll show you how that works there. There are things like the XEX files that are executable files for Xbox, Xbox XZP files, which are compressed files similar to zip. True crypt font files. I mean, we've got several things that are related to Xbox files right here. You'll notice that there are not a whole lot of things like graphics on this one. So this system did not have a lot of user graphics that were stored on the system. You can see also that P2C is marking a whole bunch of these as files that do not match the header. So we've got a .bin file that Actually, the header says it's a graphic. Now I went ahead and started looking at these files and noticed that the file viewer wasn't working. And so I thought, well, maybe P2C's file viewers weren't quite picking up the graphic formats in the Xbox, but that wasn't the case. As I exported these graphics, for example, this bitmap file, exported it, changed the extension to BMP, and Windows did not recognize that image format. It said it was not a true bitmap file. So I'm not sure exactly what was going on with all of these, but there's just not a whole lot of graphic files. However, once we get down here to the recovered from unallocated space, there tends to be a few more graphic files. And as I start to look at these images, I click on the thumbnails down here and I can start to see actual images. These are still not really user-related images. These are gaming images. So this user is definitely not using the Xbox as a file server to store a whole bunch of photos. So that's good there. That's one of the first things we can look through as we start to analyze the data here. Let's go back up to the gaming console files. Well, I'm going to show you what it looks like as we start to look at some of these STFS files. And you'll notice some of them have very strange names. And as we get down to other ones, they look like they have more common word names. But if I look at some of these things, they look like they're names of songs. So I'm kind of interested to see what these are. Are these the media libraries? What could these be? So I'm going to double click on one of these, and it's going to take me over to the Case Explorer and to where that is at. So if we look and see where we're at in the case, in the partition, we're in partition number 5 under the FATX partition, under the root folder, under content in this long folder name. And we keep on going down until we hit this folder and this subfolder. And all of a sudden we see Vaseline, the one that I double clicked on. If I double click on that again, there we go, here we go. It's going to take me into that folder. And then I need to find the Vaseline, double click on it. It's going to open up that STFS container here. I'm going to be able to open it up and start to drill down. Now you can see I'm getting to the root. I can even look at the unallocated space. But if I look at the root here, I can see songs. So it does definitely have songs in it. And if I open up and I look at this songs file, I can see a songs.dta file. It's an ASCII text file. I can look at the text view, and I can start looking at the data for that song. Then I can continue drilling down, and as I drill down into the subfolders, I see a Vaseline.mid file, a MIDI file, a Vaseline.mogg, which is a multi-layer music file. So these definitely have to do with music. Well, as I start to really get into the data here and start to figure out what this is, I can do things like export the MIDI file, and it doesn't sound like the song Vaseline that I know of. The MOGG file, as I export that and load that into a player that will support that format, that actually does contain that song. What I've discovered is that this is actually a container for the game Rock Band. So this is going to contain things like the vocals for gender, male. It's going to have the rank. It's going to have the drums. It's going to have the scroll speed. This has game user data. So it's very interesting stuff here. One of the other things that I've noticed here is that even though this doesn't really give me much information about the user itself, I can look here at the properties, and I can look at the last time this file was accessed was 4/9 of 2009. So if I have a case that I know that has time-sensitive data, maybe an alibi, they were using their Xbox, they were playing Rock Band, they were singing Vaseline, I can look and see the last access time for all of these components within this STFS file, and I can see if they match up to the alibi. And you'll notice that all of these components match up with the same last access time. So as the data within the STFS file is loaded, is used within the Xbox, the access time is changed at the same time as well. So that's just one of the things that the STSF files can contain. One of the things that you're going to have to realize with the Xbox support in P2C is that as we start to look at this data, the STFS files, some of them contained gaming data, some of them contained other files. One thing that's consistent with it all is that P2C does not parse through everything. As you'll see there that we got a little bit of an error message as it didn't recognize some of the data within the file. It does not recursively go through and parse out the data. You'll notice that as we looked at the images in the sorted files, the graphics, we didn't see any graphics like this. So the recursive sorting, although we can drill down and we can read the data in the STFS files, recursive sorting is not supported for the contents within the STF files. So there is a lot of user data, well, at least gaming data and other data stored within these types of files. So you'll want to really take some time to go through these files. The same thing applies to searches. Searchers do not search recursively through data within these files. So if you were searching for something like a user's gaming tag or URL data, things like that, you're not going to find it through recursive searching if it is in one of these STFS files. So a lot of your examination is going to have to be very manual. You're going to have to go through this data bit by bit. You may go through, and if your case is time sensitive, you may go through these sort of files here and filter out by time. Say, all right, I'm going to run a query here where I'm going to view all files that are created between these dates. And when you do the query, it's going to run and filter everything. Now, of course, in 2015, we saw a lot of these files were in 2009. It's not going to find anything. But if you do find files, then you can really concentrate on those, especially if they're the STFS files within the game console files. One of the other things that I like to do as I'm looking at Xbox 360 data is to run some searches. One search I like to do is searching for all URLs. And to do that, what I've done is I've run a regular expression search with a template. Use a template for any internet URL. So I ran that search, and you can see I got over 26,000 hits in 348 places. And as you can imagine, with only having 348 places with so many hits, some of these files may be really large with a lot of URLs in there. So if we want to look and see where some of these hits are in the raw data, we can start to drill down, and you can see the raw data here, and we can start to look for HTTP, avatar. So we're starting to see where some of these hits might be. So if we're lucky, we can maybe find some internet data if they have apps like Internet Explorer downloaded onto the Xbox. So this is a good way for you to look for internet related data. Another search that I like to do is if I know the user's gamer tag, I'll come back up here to the top level node on my case here, right click and do an advanced search, and I'll search. I know this gamer's tag, he's used Praetorian, and I can hit search. That's going to be a Boolean expression through all the files that I can read, and I can see if there might be some communications or some data that might be relevant to my case that way. So that pretty much sums up the case data for Xbox 360. Again, a lot of it's going to be manual examination as we start looking through all of this data. The sorted files are going to get a lot of data, and the Xbox related or gaming system related files is going to allow you to very quickly concentrate on all of these compressed files or these storage bins that contain all these other types of data. So definitely go through that as you do your examination, and I think you're going to have a lot of success in examining Xbox 360s. Next, we're going to move on to Xbox One and show you how that looks in P2C. Let's next take a look at Xbox Ones within P2C. We have imaged an Xbox One. This Xbox One doesn't have nearly as much user data. It's fairly new and unused, but it does have some. And we have taken an image in the same way using PFR and loaded that in, and we did a complete sort and index. Now, one of the things of note is that the Xbox One has completely different file structure. We do not have to worry about deselecting the images in the sort because it does not contain the millions of files that the Xbox 360 did within embedded images. In fact, I wish it did, because there's very limited data that we are getting or we are seeing in the Xbox One. So let's go ahead and start looking at some of that data here. You'll notice that after sorting through over 500 gigs of data, we're only sorting 74 known files. In fact, not all of those are even known. We've got some text files, desktop INI files. We've got a whole bunch of others or unknown files, XVI format, XVID or XVD format, temporary storage, and some of these have a lot of data in there. So if we were to look at that data in the raw format here, we could see what type of data is in here if we went through it, but you can see most of it is not readable even in text format here, suggesting that most of these are encrypted. So we run into a lot of problems right off the bat with analyzing Xbox One data. If we go down here to recovered from deleted data, we do have a few graphics in here, but we run into the same problem that we did with the Xbox 360. These graphics don't show up with normal file viewers. Even if you export them out and view them in Windows, they're not going to show up and be viewable. So just not a whole lot of data within the sorted files. So let's start to look at the case contents and in the different partitions in the Xbox One. One of the things we do know about this Xbox One is that it has been used fairly recently as December of 2014. But if we start to look at the data here under the NTFS partition, we can start to see things, everything from MFT files to log files, but the dates, the creation dates are way back in 2013. So we know that not all of this data is being touched when the Xbox is used. We can see some things that are used or touched, so we can start to look at that data and see if maybe we can analyze anything, but again, it's looking like it's encrypted. As we continue to look down at the different partitions, we're going to run into the same thing. We might find more folders, more user data, XVID data here. Some of these have been deleted and recovered from deleted space, as we automatically do that with P2C as we expand through the data. So really my suggestion for anybody that is analyzing Xbox One systems is to go out there and read some of the white papers on Xbox One forensics. You can see things, you'll learn things in there that you might be able to pinpoint where certain things are located and what information might be of interest to you or pertinent to your case that you really can get through. We on Paraben will be continually working on ways to decrypt data and to parse out user data. Until then, right now what we can do is read the file system and allow you to manually go through there and look at as much data as you possibly can. So this is one of those things where we will continue as an industry to learn more and to get more data from these types of digital evidence. And we will continue to put out new features and videos as we learn more and add more support for it. So this concludes our Xbox analysis with P2 Commander. Thank you for joining me.